Birds, I'm Dan Hinz. Welcome back to Adulting with Money, and today I'm going to do a reaction video. There's this personal finance YouTuber, Stephan. Well, he talks more than just personal finance, investing, and all sorts of money stuff. And he's actually got two YouTube channels. One of them has like 2.4 million subscribers, and the other one has 500,000 subscribers. And to be honest, I really like Graham. I really haven't come across a video where I don't like his advice, but he just made a video about money and relationships. And, you know, me as a financial coach helping couples unite, not fight over their money, I'm like, okay, Graham, you're getting onto my territory. So I thought, hey, before I watch this video, I haven't even seen this yet, I'm going to do a reaction. So you're going to see me watch this video and then react to what he says. So let's get started.
What's up, you guys? It's Graham here. So a little over a year ago, I posted a video about why I was single, and well, lo and behold, weird timing, but right after I posted the video, I met my girlfriend Macy. And since then, I've largely shut the door on addressing relationship topics here in the channel because, well, we're an investment channel. We keep things money related around here. But I also know that many of you have been asking for my thoughts on money and relationships and whether or not it complicates things, and
okay, now as far as complicating things, yeah, it does complicate things. But when it comes to relationships and it comes to dealing with money, it doesn't have to complicate things. The truth is, when you sit and you listen and you're on the same page, then things aren't nearly as complicated.
and how to go about meeting someone else who's financially like-minded. So I'll give in.
Okay, yeah, financially like-minded. Good luck with that. It doesn't always happen, but let's see what else Graham has to say.
I'll share my experiences and exactly what I've learned along the way. Because listen, I get it. As fun as it could be to build up your career, invest consistently, grow your wealth, increase your credit score, and smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm.
Smash my like button for the algorithm.
So here's my experience when it comes to this, and I say this as a now 30-year-old who has been laser career-driven focused and extremely frugal.
Now, just to compare me and Graham is that I'm 34 years old and I have been married now for 9 years. So there's not quite much of an age difference, but as far as relationships go, I've got him beat by almost a decade.
First, I want to talk about something that I see commented a lot, and that's the notion that money complicates things, or it becomes very difficult to tell if someone likes you for you or if they like you for what you have, and I come at this from a very unique viewpoint. On the one hand, I'm extremely open about how much money I make and from where, probably to a fault, because you could look me up and it's all right there, right out in the open.
Yeah, and that can be really scary. I mean, as Allison and I talk more about our money on this channel, that's a bit scary because I don't want you guys to judge me for what I spend my money on. Money can still be a very taboo topic. When you're trying to open your life to someone else, both sides of that relationship, that can be very scary because for some reason, talking about money makes us very uppity, really gets a stick up our butt, and we don't really want to talk about it. So I'm interested to see what Graham has to say, but you know, when I'm coaching couples, I'm trying to be that nice, even third-party middle ground where it's comfortable to share and we can find progress towards your goals and whatever else is going on in life.
I love saving money and trying to find new ways to cut back on my spending. Like until recently, I would use my grocery bags as trash bags, so it saved me a few cents, and I would...
Okay, so here's a guy who's worth $10 million, and he said that in other videos, and he's using grocery bags as trash bags. I mean, this is like depression level grandparent, great-grandparent type of savings.
I would save the restaurant condiment packets because I didn't want to buy my own bottle of ketchup and soy sauce. Yeah, you can't tell me that women see that and they're like,
yeah, I met the perfect guy the other night. He told me he hasn't bought a bottle of ketchup in years, and he uses grocery bags as trash bags. That's when I knew he was the one.
Okay, that's why I like Graham. He's got a sense of humor too. So if you haven't subscribed to his channel as well as mine, you should check him out.
When it comes to myself, I've never tried to hide who I am and how much I value financial responsibility. I enjoy saving money, I like investing, I like parking a few blocks away so I don't have to pay a parking meter, and I like getting good deals. And by shamelessly putting it out there, I happen to meet someone else who shares those exact same values, except she doesn't like when I use grocery bags as trash bags.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's what I'm getting at. If you want to meet someone who thinks the same way you do and shares those same beliefs, that is what you need to make known from the very beginning. Be exactly who you are and don't be apologetic about it.
Okay, I completely agree with Graham right here, is that be you and don't be apologetic about it. So when I met Allison for the first time, I truly was me. I was my regular nerd self all the time. And I'm pretty sure that's, well, maybe not exactly why she fell in love with me, but why why I fell in love with her, is that I was being me and she stuck around. So that's got to be a good thing.
I know money has previously been this taboo topic that no one talks about because it's not proper etiquette, but I think it's a very realistic component to any long-term relationship, and logistically, when you're in a serious relationship, you need to be upfront with how you plan to manage your finances and whether or not your long-term goals will clash with each other.
Yes, I completely agree with this. So, I mentioned it here on the channel before, but there's a great book that Allison and I used before we got married to talk about money. It was called 10 Great Dates Before You Say I Do. And it's not to say that if you disagree on anything, you're not going to be a good couple. It's to say, well, what is it that you agree on? What goals do you have? What is it that you want for your life? And in fact, when Alice and I were dating, I knew for a fact that she was going to leave the state of Iowa and become some sort of sea mammal, dolphin, sea lion trainer. And I knew that if I wanted to stay with her, I'd have to go along with that. But knowing that ahead of time, having that conversation ahead of time, prepares you as a couple for those types of things. So yeah, it's a good thing to talk about before you tie the knot or you get really, really serious.
For example, if one person is a live in the moment, spend money today because you could die tomorrow type, and the other person is deeply into early retirement with the intention of spending as little money as possible so it could last the rest of their lives, eventually something has to give, and if one person compromises their own beliefs for the other, eventually that could lead to resentment and in a relationship that's never healthy.
Yeah, so I'm having a hard time finding anything that I disagree with here in Graham's video. A lot of what he said is absolutely true. Is that couples, you need to be on the same page. And oftentimes when I'm working with a couple, if we don't find some sort of common goal, it gets really hard to work together with money. Because in the end, if you have as a couple, a common enemy or a common goal that you're working together to go fight against, then things go a lot easier. He hit the nail on the head about beliefs. And that's this is some Tony Robbins stuff here as we're getting down into that really like, who are you as a person? But it's good to know that ahead of time. It's good to talk about that to see that, hey, are we actually going to be compatible? Is this right for us right now?
Remember, there's no right or wrong or best or worst, it's just what works with you. You want to make sure that you have a similar outlook on saving, spending, investing, borrowing, debt, and cost of living. And then you got to find a balance that you enjoy, and don't expect everyone is going to agree with that or work with that, and that's perfectly okay.
Yeah, so when it comes to balance, that's an important note as well, is to say balance doesn't always mean 50-50. One of my biggest pieces of advice for couples is to make sure in your budget, in your financial planning, that you do have some spending money for each of you. That little slice of independence within your relationship, within your family. So that way, first of all, you don't have to completely sit down and agree on every single penny that you're going to spend. You have that pocket money to just, if you want to buy a candy bar, buy a candy bar. If you want to go out to lunch with friends, you just go out to lunch with friends, and you have that money available. But that pocket money, that spending money, doesn't have to be the exact same for both of you. And so you have to find that balance, but balance doesn't always have to be 50-50.
With that, it's also important to acknowledge that you can't change someone, and the saying, what you see is what you get, is probably a realistic mantra of what to expect. Like if you're dating someone with a terrible spending habit, don't expect that you could change that person in any type of meaningful way without that person actually wanting to change.
Yes, so when it comes to changing someone, I was talking with a woman the other day that was having a hard time getting her husband to sit down and talk to her about money. And I said, well, what's going on? And she said, well, we would sit down, I'd show him the budget, and here's how we're going to spend money. And I said, well, probably why he doesn't want to sit down and talk to you about money is because you're dictating to him. You're saying, this is how we're going to handle money. I've made this plan, and he didn't get any sort of say in the matter. And that's not going to make anybody happy. And so when Graham is talking about you can't change anyone, that's pretty much true. People can change, but they have to decide to change on their own. They have to decide that, you know what, I want to lose weight, thus I'm going to start eating differently. I want to get out of debt, or I want more freedom, so let's get out of debt. Once you find that thing that they want, then the action in order to go get that, that's where that change comes from. But until that person decides themselves that this is what I want, then you're really just going to be hitting a brick wall.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that could be true with just about any facet of any relationship. Again, people could certainly change, but they need to want to do it for themselves in order for that change to be long-lasting. Otherwise, you'll likely be setting yourself up for disappointment. And with a topic like this, it's impossible to talk in absolutes because people are, well, people. We don't always make sense, we're not always logical and predictable, and many times our own ego can throw things wildly off.
Yeah, so when it comes to money, every financial decision has three components to it. There's money, there's time, and there's emotion. And whether we like it or not, whether you want to get rid of it or not and become some sort of emotionless Spock, even though he's half human and has some emotion, just because you want to be like a calculator and make perfect decisions all the time, emotions will be part of it. Whenever you're making financial decisions, emotions are going to be part of it. And you have to figure that out for yourself and for your partner as well, to say, well, how is this going to make us feel? That is an important part and something we should always look out for.
But relatively speaking, if you could expect and accept the other person for who they are and that works for you, then great. Instead, the best way to meet someone is organically, as you're already going through your own path and purpose, and it just so happens. By focusing on yourself and being comfortable with who you are first, you're naturally going to put yourself out there in such a way that people gravitate towards.
And Allison and I, we were both in marching band in college. That's where we met. We were band nerds, and hey, it worked out pretty good.
And from that, you tend to meet other great like-minded people who are a really good fit. Being in a relationship does not mean driving around Ferraris and chartering helicopters for wine tasting in Santa Barbara on Sunday. What matters the most is just the thought behind it.
So yes, the thought behind it. If you have not read the 5 love languages, this is a perfect example of this. Because when it comes to the 5 love languages, what happens is that we feel love in different ways. My #1 love language is physical touch, whereas my wife's #1 love language is service and gifts. And so if I give her something, if I buy something that really means something to her, she feels very loved. And because of that, she loves to give gifts to other people because that's her main love language. But for me, if she comes and just scratches my back or gives me a back rub or a head rub, that means way more to me than anything else. And so what Graham's talking about here is depending on the person you want to date or you want to marry, maybe they're not impressed by a lot of financial things. Maybe they love experiences. Maybe they do love gifts, but you have to learn what their love language is and then give them that love, as opposed to assuming this is what I like, thus they like that as well.
Finally, I know I can't talk about money in relationships without addressing the elephant in the room that I have been asked about for years now that I've never addressed, and that would be my thoughts on prenuptial agreements. This is up to both of you to decide what's fair, but I don't think a prenup in any way invalidates a relationship or implies that you're planning for failure. In fact, I actually think the opposite. Even though you don't plan to get in a car accident, you still wear a seatbelt.
So Graham's making some really good points here. I have not dove into prenups quite in detail myself, and certainly I'm not a lawyer, so if you have questions, really detailed questions about prenups, go ask a lawyer. But if you get married and you sit down to fill out a will or a healthcare directive, a lot of these things come up as well, because when Allison and I went to go get our will, it's not just like if one of us dies, what happens? What if both of us die? Then what happens? Okay, so everything goes to like our separate families. And then the lawyer says, well, what if all of you decide to take this giant cruise ship trip and all of you die? Then what happens? And so the lawyer was asking us, what if, what if, what if? And so we had to sit and think about and talk about a lot of these what if scenarios. And so a prenup is essentially, well, what if something happens to the marriage? You're just saying, what if? It's not to saying that you're planning for it. So I know a prenup is can be a very emotional thing for a lot of people. So I don't have a huge amount of advice, but Graham is making some great points here.
You still get health insurance even though you don't plan on getting ill. You still get home insurance even though you don't anticipate anything happening to your house. Now, in terms of what's fair, well, that's really for two people to decide, and that's way above my qualification to ever give any type of advice on.
Me too.
this. What people decide to do amongst themselves is totally fine with me as long as both people are okay with it and agree with it. Relationships are an incredible and integral growing and learning experience as a person, and it's not something to shy away from because you believe money complicates things. But learning how to showcase exactly who you are and what you stand for is not only a quality that a future partner will appreciate, but it's also going to help shape you into a more confident person in general.
So I just want to say, Graham, great video. I really don't have anything to say. I was hoping there'd be more drama and that I would disagree with you on more stuff, but he's got a lot of great advice. And so when I'm coaching couples, this is the type of stuff that I'm looking for. I'm trying to look for that middle ground. It's not to say that you have to agree on everything, because certainly Allison and I don't agree on everything, but we agree on enough, the major stuff, that we have some sort of common enemy that we're fighting against, some sort of common goal that we're working towards. And that's how those major goals help us keep a healthy balance in our relationship with money. Watch this video if you want to see my wife spill the tea on how we handle money. YouTube thinks you're going to love this video, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and remember, consistency beats perfection.